It's been a while since Company of Heroes 2 came out, and even longer since the first game in the series revolutionized the RTS genre. Company of Heroes was one of the few truly amazing World War II era real-time strategy games out there, combining amazing graphics for the time with fast-paced yet tactical gameplay between the Allies and the Axis powers. Company of Heroes 3 was announced back during the summer, and a big new aspect of this game is the fact that we're actually getting a kind of campaign map in addition to the traditional RTS battles.
Company of Heroes has always been about taking command, making the right decisions and forging your path to victory. The dynamic campaign map provides a new high-level strategic commander experience where you command the overall war effort in the region.
That is really cool, and should be taken into account when the final game comes out. But right now, we're taking a look at the Company of Heroes 3 multiplayer test, which supposedly is in pre-alpha. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing to the channel. If there's one thing I'm going to say about Company of Heroes 3, is that it very much feels like a Company of Heroes title. In the multiplayer test, we get to play as either the US or Germany, and depending on who you are, you're going to be given different units and abilities. For example, the US is a more offensive faction this time around, and offers highly mobile bazooka units. Germany, on the other hand, is more defensive, and favors the anti-tank artillery, and depending on your playstyle, you can actually choose which faction you want to play from the multiplayer menu. Visually, I think the game looks good. Not amazing or anything, but it looks appealing and does its job. It does kinda seem like it could have been made 5 years ago though, which is not a compliment. Your mileage will also definitely vary depending on the map you're playing, and because the graphics are kind of cartoony, they look a lot better when there's more color around, as opposed to when things are a bit darker and more lifeless. Now this test only encompassed multiplayer battles and no campaign, but this is of course what most players will be the most interested in. Company of Heroes 3 is very familiar in this sense, since not much has changed since last time in terms of mechanics. Each player has a base where they recruit units and upgrade their buildings, but in contrast to a game like Age of Empires, Company of Heroes is not about establishing a town with various buildings. Company of Heroes is about conquering a number of smaller control outposts scattered across the map. The game has you collect resources from these points, and whether they be ammunition, fuel, or victory points, they all ultimately mean the difference between victory and defeat. Much like other RTS games, the units of Company of Heroes 3 function in a rock, paper, scissors type way, where some units effectively counter others, so bazooka units will easily damage a tank, while an armored car has an easy time taking out a rifle division. There are not a lot of different units to recruit in total, probably around a dozen in total per faction, but since this is World War II, that's more or less completely fine. I personally love the Engineer unit, which is your mobile builder division. With engineers you can lay down mines, put up sandbags to effectively defend the position, and in many ways meaningfully change the battlefield. I love setting up my defenses and feel all nice and cozy in my little spot. When everything comes together, Company of Heroes 3 feels really good. When the tanks circle, soldiers hide behind the fences, and the airstrikes come in fast and furiously, Company of Heroes both looks and sounds amazing. There's something about the action when the units face off in these epic skirmishes that elevate the game from just being small shootouts here and there to something much larger. If the game can capitalize on these moments in the final version, this is likely going to be a banger. However, I do have some major concerns as well. Now it must be said that this is an alpha, but despite popular belief, a game is mostly finished in the alpha, except for that final polish and minor additions. Whatever the case, I have a problem with the game's UI. I generally find it difficult and often confusing to know if I've actually selected a unit or not, or even when I have selected a unit and targeted an enemy one, whether I've actually done anything. The game needs to give me a lot more feedback or signifiers, letting me know what I'm actually doing or what I have selected, because now those notifiers are way too small or insignificant enough to really be noticed as well as they should. Further, I really do wish the maps were a bit more tactically designed. At least from some of the ones I played, they felt too open to really take advantage of the terrain. Except for the best map I played, where there was a river and a bridge. But even this was kind of too open since the river was easily crossed and the bridge not really needed. I would have loved a map that had real and tangible choke points, and more positions where ambush or surprise was a tactical necessity. I realized that this could potentially lesser the balance of certain maps, but not necessarily, especially if designed correctly and offering an equal amount of interesting positions for each player. Because right now the maps feel a bit too chaotic and all over the place, and I wish some of them had been more unique looking. In addition, and this 1-2 punch really bothers me, is the absence of WASD camera controls. Yes, you actually have to use the arrow keys or of course the mouse itself, and the lack of really cool and cinematic camera angles. We're able to zoom down, which is great, but this is the highest we get, and there are no real cool shots like we see in the trailers. I would have loved more player agency related to the camera angles, and I think the only RTS game to do this correctly remains Star Wars Empire Total War from 2006. That's insane to me, and I can't help but feel like this would have been an awesome thing to introduce to the series. Moreover, and this is perhaps wishful thinking, but after 8 years I really feel like it could have been done, I would have loved a shake-up to the battles in a bigger way. Imagine somewhat larger battlefields reminiscent of the ones in Steel Division. Imagine naval battles or larger set pieces that included sea, land, and air. This would have been a real change, but much like with Age of Empires 4, it seems like Company of Heroes 3 attempts to cater to returning players, instead of really trying to win over players that were kind of sick of the original formula in the first place. Maybe the campaign map will take Company of Heroes 3 to the next level, and I would love that. But at the moment, I'm only cautiously optimistic. Lastly, I really hope this massive lag thing when you're panning the map is fixed in the final game. I never experienced it during online games, but I did encounter them in every random skirmish with the AI I ever had. So let's hope it's only a temporary thing. Thank you so much for watching. That was the Company of Heroes 3 multiplayer test. And even though I had fun, I am not convinced just yet. I'm excited for the final game, but not as hype as I hoped I would be. Now let me hear your opinion. Do you love Company of Heroes, and are you excited for the next one? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.